It's like, aren't you over this yet?
Yeah.
You're making a bigger deal of this than you need to. And these are all things that are trying to get him out of the doghouse. And what she's saying is, you, the betrayer, may leave me because I'm not doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Couple Cure. I'm Jay.
I'm Lori. Thanks for joining us. We are still on the issue, or talking about the issue of betrayal, and I need to apologize for the last video. We set it up without being able to see ourselves, and therefore you only saw about this much of my face. So have it set up in a better way this time. But let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about the different types of betrayal, the different types of trauma that we've seen in our work. And I wanted to start with the issue of betrayal trauma itself and how the term even came to be, or how they even found out that it was an issue. As far as I know, this is where it first came up, and it had to do with the research that this woman named Dr. Barbara Steffens was doing. She's the author of Your Sexually Addicted Spouse, a co-author of it. The other author is Dr. Marcia Means. But anyway, Dr. Barbara Steffens was doing research, and she had her data in front of her, and she she was sitting next to somebody who was doing research on the effects of trauma and what it does to the gut. And what they found was that they were very similar. And so Dr. Barbara Steffens started doing a little bit more research into the clinical signs of PTSD, and then eventually took her research to a man named Dr. Daniel Amen, or Amen, spelled just like it sounds, A-M-E-N. And he is a top brain researcher in the country. He does a lot of fMRI studies to see what parts of the brain lights up when. Well, anyway, he took one look at the data and said, that's PTSD. So that started this whole field of study, this whole field of helping women. So that's where that starts. Another issue we want to cover is complex trauma. And complex trauma, it's different than your typical trauma. Typical trauma happens when there's not a relationship there. You might get mugged. You might, be on the battlefield. The other person is not related to you. The person causing the injury is not related to you. It adds a complexity when there is a relationship there.
Like we talked in the last episode, being in the same environment with the person who's still actively causing the pain, still actively going down the road of bad conversations, adds a degree of complexity, because now you're telling the person, well, they're safe-ish, and you need to, if you're wanting to stay in relationship with them, they're kind of safe, but that trauma, then the woman's like, do I trust him here? Do I trust him there? And all sorts of decisions start to come under scrutiny as a result.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, like, I got mugged by somebody I don't know, that's one thing, but this is somebody I was supposed to be able to trust, that hurt me. So it can add a layer of complexity, hence the term complex trauma.
Right.
We've also seen relational trauma, and this was brought up on my trauma training, that there are inherent dynamics within the relationship that can cause trauma as well. And they just kind of gave us a blanket term about it being relational trauma. Some of those things arise from different types of betrayal within the relationship.
Right.
Judgment, impatience, abandonment, name calling, blame shifting, some of those things we've talked about already.
Right.
I don't know if you have anything you want to...
What does impatience look like? Impatience looks like, aren't you over this yet?
Yeah.
Judgment looks like, you're making a bigger deal of this than you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all things in the mind of the addict that are trying to get him out of the doghouse. You know, he is trying to get things back to a normal state, and what she's saying is, you haven't done anything to get us back there. All you've done is tell me you quit using, but now you're telling me if I don't do it fast enough, or if I don't do it the right way, or something, you may leave me. You may leave, you the betrayer may leave me because I'm not doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. And so there, you know, there can be a lot of new betrayals after the initial exposure.
Mm-hmm. Another betrayal, another type of betrayal we've seen is what we'll be covering, I believe, in another podcast. I can't remember if it'll come before this one or after this one, but we've already recorded it, and that is, you know, the messages she gets from society. I mean, even in church circles, the addict will get these messages as well, or similar messages as well, all making the person feel unsafe. And so, you know, we call this societal betrayal, or trauma that can happen from society, because, you know, sometimes we go to our friends, we go to our family, we go to our church to look for guidance, and when they say you're doing it wrong, or even just our reaction is wrong, then we can like really feel thrown off there as well. Right. So we call that societal betrayal.
Right. And, you know, in the whole conversation of pornography, it is so normalized in our culture that for someone to have an issue with it means there's something wrong with them. Or at least that's the way our world wants to treat people who have a problem with pornography. So let's go back to the truth here. Whether or not you have a problem with pornography, I lied to Lori more than 1,000 times in a 4-year period. Mm-hmm. That is betrayal. You know, if I was using and I was telling her about it and she knew about it, it would be a very different issue.
Yeah, I would have had to make a decision then. Can I live with this?
Yeah.
And I would have made a decision at that point.
Right. So, you know, whether or not you think pornography is a problem, lying to someone consistently is a problem. There is a lot of trust broken there. So the pornography, you know, is a symptom of underlying character issues and behavior issues that I had. So it led to this. It led to this betrayal, distrust, and trauma for Lori. The issue could be rooted in anything. Mm-hmm. Money, food, power, you know, pick anything that you can get addicted to, and it can lead to betrayal.
Yeah. There can be betrayal even in the helper-helpee relationship, that when you go for help, you know, there can be certain messages given to you that aren't helpful either. But there was something you said earlier, maybe it'll come back. It really kind of made me think of something. But.
Right. So are we going to get into treatment-induced?
No, that'll be another, because that's kind of a big topic.
Just be aware that very many well-meaning people can say things that betray or more deeply harm the person who's been betrayed already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's not coming to mind, so I guess we'll cut this one here. If it comes back to mind, then we'll cut this part and add it in. I figured out what it was. Jay had mentioned that guys can get the message from certain circles that you're wrong for using porn, you're wrong for even being drawn to it in the first place. The thing that's occurred to me is that when it's not that message, it's like your wife or girlfriend is wrong for not liking it. So there's no real balance there. It's not like, okay, let's put all judgment aside and let's figure out why. Why is it there?
Right. Yeah, you know, what drew me there might have drawn someone else into alcohol, drugs, some other type of coping mechanism for what was going on with me internally. So yeah, let's drop the judgment of what it is I used, and let's look at the behavior that Lori asked me not to. I told her I wouldn't. I lied about it. I continued to lie about it. And then when it all came out, I blamed her as well.
And it wasn't even that I asked him not to. You had said you don't want it in your life, and you were
Right.
actively working on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I thought we would be a united front, and and it all worked out.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.